Here's the thing. You might not realize what you should have ditched until after you get hitched. Lucky for you, our wedding wingman has done this hundreds of times and is here to share how you can get it right the first time. In this video, you'll not only learn what newlyweds wish they knew or needed to hear in the wedding planning process, but advice from a wedding planner on how she would recommend you do it differently. Without further ado, let's get you ready for your day, your way.
Thanks, Vanessa, for the great introduction. I'm Ashley McHone with Always Follows Productions, and we are a wedding planning and design studio. And today I'm really excited because we're going to be walking you guys through the 10 biggest mistakes we see couples make through the planning process. Without further ado, let's dive in and let's start with that first mistake. So that first mistake that a lot of couples make is not setting a budget. I know it can be tough to sit down and talk money, but I want you to sit down with your fiance and potentially with both sets of parents to figure out how much money everybody is giving you for your wedding and how much money you're going to be able to spend. Once you set that budget for your full wedding, then I want you to also take a look at all of the different aspects of the day and all the details you want to include, such as your venue, your photographer, your DJ, your planner, and map all of those out and allocate how much you want to spend on each of those items. Once you do that, it's going to be a lot easier to book vendors such as your venue and your photographer that fit that price point. And the other piece that's going to help is it's going to prevent you from going way over budget. So as a planner, what I see often is couples come to me having booked their venue and potentially their photographer, and they haven't fully set a budget yet. And what happens is they keep adding things to their wedding day and it gets out of hand really quick. So my recommendation to prevent your budget from getting out of hand and from spending more than you guys want to is to really sit down from day one and talk money and talk how much you want to spend on your wedding day. All right, so the second mistake we see a lot of couples make when it comes to planning their wedding is choosing the wrong start time. So when it comes to your ceremony, picking that start time, I want you guys to think about what time that sun sets. So this is one of the biggest factors when it comes to picking what time you start your ceremony, because what you want to make sure of is that you have time after your ceremony ends to take photos of you and your fiance or your now husband or wife, as well as your family photos. So if you're setting your ceremony to start right as that sun's setting, you're not gonna have time to take photos after that ceremony. So I know it isn't always possible to work with that time of sunset, but if at all possible, I always recommend paying attention to what time that sun is setting in relation to what time your ceremony starts. So the other piece of that is when you're picking both the time your ceremony is gonna start and your reception is gonna start, I want you to keep them fairly close together. So if you're at a venue and your ceremony and reception are both gonna take place at the same spot, this isn't really something you have to worry about. This is more something you have to worry about if you're holding your ceremony at a church or at a different location and then everybody is moving to that reception space. So I know it isn't always possible, but you don't want there to be this big hour, 2 hour, 3 hour gap between your ceremony and reception. Because if you do that, your guests aren't gonna have anything to do and they're gonna wonder where to go. So if at all possible, keep those as close together as possible to prevent any issues for your guests. So the third mistake we see a lot of couples make when it comes to planning their wedding is having issues with their vendor contracts. So what I mean here is I want to make sure that 1, you have contracts with all of your vendors, and 2, you know exactly what's being included in those contracts. So all of the contracts you're getting from your vendors, they need to include everything that vendor is providing. So the more detail here, the better. Just because if your contract is lacking detail, there's gonna be a lot more room for additional costs or for other things to come into play later on. And the other piece of a contract that I always want you to pay attention to is what happens in a worst case scenario. I want you to be comfortable with all aspects of that contract so you feel fully comfortable moving forward with that vendor. So now moving on to our next mistake, it actually has to do with hiring friends for your wedding. All right, so the fourth mistake we see couples make when it comes to planning their wedding is actually hiring friends for vendors. So while I know this can be a great way to save money and to make your friends and family feel included in the wedding, it can also come with a lot of frustration and disappointment. So if you plan on using one of your friends or family members for your wedding, I always recommend sitting down with them, talking through exactly what you expect and what they plan on providing, so there's no miscommunication and no issues come your wedding day. Like I said, it's not something you can't do, but it's not always something I would recommend just to ensure that you don't get frustrated through the process. So our fifth mistake we see couples make as they're planning their wedding is trying to please everyone. So I know while you're planning your wedding, you want to make your parents happy happy. You want to make your bridal party happy, and you want to make all of your guests happy. But as much as I hate to tell you this, you're not going to please everybody through the process. Instead of worrying about keeping everybody happy, I want you to focus on what makes you happy through this process and what you want for that wedding day. A wedding is about you and your fiance, and so that's what I want that focus to be on, not on whether it's what your mom wants or what your sister wants. Ultimately, when your wedding day gets here, they are gonna be so happy for you regardless of what choices you made. So again, focus on what you want and don't focus on pleasing everybody else for your wedding. So now that we've talked about the fact that you don't have to please everybody for your wedding, let's move on to the 6th mistake couples make in planning their wedding, and that's trying to do everything. So what I mean by that is you don't have to, 1, include every detail you've ever seen in your wedding, because when you do that, it's 1, gonna cost more money, and 2, it's gonna create a lot of stress and anxiety for you. So don't feel like you have to do everything, but instead focus on a few things that you want to include in your day. Secondly, while you might want to include more, if you don't have time to do more of those things, include your family and delegate to other people who can help you, because they are more than happy to take things on for you. So that could be things such as asking your parents to get addresses of all of your family members. That could be having them help you plan your rehearsal dinner. That could be having them help with some DIY projects. Anything like that are things you can delegate so that people can help you, so you don't feel like you're trying to do everything on your own in planning your wedding. So mistake number 7 that we see couples make in planning their wedding is not hiring a wedding planner. And while the wedding planner can be great to help walk you through the entire planning process, I know that's not for everybody. So what I mean here is not hiring a wedding planner to come in as either a day of or month of wedding coordinator. So what that means is a wedding coordinator will actually come in and help you finalize details. They'll double check all of your vendor contracts. They'll make sure you're not missing anything for that wedding day. And then they'll also be there to run the show on your wedding day. So you put so much time and effort into this wedding that you really want to enjoy it. And you want your parents and your family and all of your friends to enjoy it with you. So let a wedding planner come in, let them handle all of the setup, and let them manage all of your vendors so you can sit back and relax and enjoy that day of your life. All right, so the 8th mistake we see couples make in planning their wedding is micromanaging their vendors. So I know as a bride or groom, you want all of the details to go perfectly for your wedding day, but you hired your vendors for a reason. So let them be creative and let them do their jobs well. For example, if you're working with a florist, don't feel the need to have them make an exact bouquet, an exact replica for a centerpiece. Once you do things like that, they're losing their creativity and things aren't gonna come out as well. So again, choose vendors that you love and that you trust, and don't micromanage them. Instead, let them do their job and you're gonna be really happy with the results. So the 9th mistake we see a lot of couples make when it comes to planning their wedding is having too many people give toasts. So this can happen in a couple different ways. So the first is letting too many people give a toast. I recommend having kind of a maximum of 4 people give toasts on your wedding day, and then giving them a time limit of maybe 5 minutes maximum. Otherwise, what you're gonna find is some of those people are gonna talk for a really long time. We've actually had fathers of the bride and best men that talk for over 45 minutes, so giving them that time frame is gonna be the best option. The other mistake we see when it comes to toasts is opening up the floor for anybody to come up and say something about you. Well, I know it's nice to have everybody come talk about you and tell all of these stories and how excited they are that you're getting married. Again, this can last for 1 hour, 2 hours if you open up that floor. And when you do that, all of the rest of your guests are gonna get tired and they're gonna be ready to move on to that next event. So my suggestion, instead of opening it up for anybody and everybody to give toasts, have those couple close family members and bridal party give toasts on your wedding day, and then potentially you can open up the floor at your rehearsal dinner where it's not gonna take over the full day of your wedding day. So our 10th mistake that a lot of couples make in planning their wedding is having hair and makeup end too late. So believe it or not, hair and makeup is actually the #1 reason weddings run behind. So my recommendation here is to look at what time you actually want hair and makeup to finish. Now I want you to add an hour, and I want you to tell your hair and makeup artist that you need to be ready an hour before you actually do. So I know that sounds a little bit crazy, but that gives you a lot of buffer time in case things run behind, and that way you're not stressed and running around the rest of the day, and you have more time to relax and enjoy your wedding day. So start hair and makeup earlier than you think. So our final tip and mistake that a lot of couples make in their wedding is sweating the small stuff. So what I mean by that is all of the details seem really important as you're planning your wedding, but I don't want them to stress you out. Ultimately, when your wedding gets here, you're gonna be so excited to enjoy that day with your fiance and with your families and friends that's what I want you to focus on and that's what I want you to remember. Ultimately, you're gonna be married and that's what's important. All right, and that's a wrap. I hope you guys enjoyed the 10, well actually 11, biggest mistakes we see couples make in planning their wedding, and I hope that prevents you from making some of those mistakes on your wedding planning journey. Check the description below for my Instagram and to follow along for some great wedding inspiration. Also, feel free to head over to my website for some more information, and I actually have a really great guide for you guys to check out today. It's called our Ultimate Wedding Planning Guide, and it's gonna guide you through the whole process of getting started with wedding planning. So be sure to click below as well to head on over and grab your free guide. And don't forget to click the like button below and to share this video with anybody you think would find it helpful. And be sure to subscribe to Wed Mayhem for more wedding advice from both myself and other wedding professionals. Again, I'm Ashley McHone with Always Flawless Productions, and I'm here with Wed Mayhem, and we're vowed to your vision.